welcome into the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. It is a Wednesday. That means only one thing. It's time now for Supernatural News and Parashare. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Did I say that already? Yeah, I think I did. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Yes. We have a co-hostess over there, as you can hear by the laughter. She's the one, the only, the best in the biz, Mallie Fox. Mallie, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Suffering through dementia, I believe.
Yeah.
Welcome
to my world.
Yeah, because I can't remember my own name. It's such a nice day out today, and I feel so bad about that. Hurricane Milton is now running. What a name for a hurricane, Milton. Yeah, but it's now, as we're recording here on Tuesday, is making its way from Cancun to Florida. It should hit the shores as you're of Florida as you're listening to this podcast. So I've got that on my mind. I'm thinking
because it's Category 5, isn't it?
Well, it's a Cat 5 now as it sits in north of Mexico, but it should, as it hits the shores of Mexico, hopefully only be a Cat 4 to a Cat 3. That's what they're thinking. And the reason for this is because of the drier air that's sitting, thank God for fall, right? The drier air that's in the atmosphere combined with some other atmospheric tendencies of this time of year and different squalls, it should slow down that hurricane. Thank you, weather nerds that I used to hang out with in college, one of which that worked for CNN and Weather Center, or Weather Channel. It should slow down some of that activity, that hurricane activity, and hopefully bring it down a notch. But still, you're still dealing with winds of over 100 miles an hour once it hits the shore. So,
have you seen the videos on social media where people are asking Alexa like questions about it? And it's like, it's a disastrous, hurricane and all this destruction and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Well, they're still, they're still forecasting.
It's psychic almost because it's saying things in advance.
Yes. Yeah. It is saying stuff in advance. Well, and it has reason to. I mean, they're saying, actually, some of the stuff that they're saying about it, if you're really, I'll put it to you this way, and we won't spend too much time on it today, but there's a thing called the Phoenix Project, I believe, that the city of Tampa has been preparing for since 2009. And when you read into this, it's a little scary.
Okay.
They've been preparing for a Category 5 hurricane for 15 years or more. And I saw an interview with the mayor of Tampa last night. And the Tampa hospital has these 12-foot water walls that are lined up against the hospital that are supposed to protect the hospital against 12-foot water squalls. Okay. But they're afraid that Milton will have squalls larger than 12 feet. So they're afraid the hospital may flood. And we're talking about seawater squalls now. Right. So, and these are damaging, incredibly damaging. You can't live through a seawater squall. Okay. So it's incredibly frightening. We'll just put it that way. Incredibly frightening and damaging to the point where trying to recover from something like that is devastating. And we're talking about a major city in America. We're not talking about, some little burg on the side of the ocean. So, and to talk about two hurricanes that hit within 2 weeks of each other.
I know, the devastation.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, thank God our government is mobilizing in the way that they are, and that FEMA was down there yesterday and today trying to get as much debris up as possible before Milton hits to try and lessen the impact of what may potentially happen here tomorrow or today as you're listening to this is something else. But
I always have that vision of, I forget what movie it is, but it's like that wall of water comes and it's as tall as the Statue of Liberty and the people are standing there watching it as it's about to hit.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is.
Well, now, Helene had what, a 6 to 8 foot wall of water, or 6 to 8 feet of water, standing water. And they're talking about up to 12 feet with Milton, which would be a new record.
So scary. Yeah, very scary.
And it is hard to survive in up to 9 feet, they say. And up to 9 feet, it is impossible for you to survive. That's what safety officials are saying. And up to 9 feet of standing water it is impossible for you to survive, especially if you live in that area.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're within the sound of our voice in your listening device, and you are in an evacuation area, and you need to get out of there, here's the best advice I can give you. If you go to the Weather Channel, or you go to streamtwc.com, there is a list of numbers in Florida where you can call for evacuation help by county. Please go to that URL, find those numbers, and dial them if you need help. It's the best advice I could give you.
Yeah.
I have relatives that are in Hernando County that are right on the line. I'm talking about right up to the street. And they're refusing to leave.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of them don't want to leave because they're like, why, when it's going to be miles and miles of standstill traffic?
Well, that's the thing. Within 100 miles, you can't move right now. There's
no hotels. There's nothing. It's all being taken.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess when we were talking to the relatives down there today, they've opened up the shoulders on the highways for people to try and get through. But I mean, it's standstill traffic for hundreds of miles. It's just, and where are you going to go? I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, people are trying to get out. I get that. There's no gas for 100 miles.
Correct.
Or
they're gouging the gas prices. Some of those people are being,
right. Right. And sure, resources are sparse. But you got to do what you got to do, I guess, to try and get out of there with what you can. Mind you, at the time that we're taping this, it's evening. It's Tuesday evening.
Yeah.
There is still a good 12 to 14 hours before Milton hits landfall, if not longer. And that's the coast that it hits, not necessarily inland. As it's traveling at about 8 miles an hour. So there's still, you're probably talking Wednesday afternoon, evening before it's firmly inland. So there's plenty of time for people to get as far north as they can try to get. That's not saying much, but you're talking. And
please take your pets too.
Yes.
The people that leave their pets behind, those are my babies. Yeah. I don't know how people can do it, but.
Yeah. And you're talking, the water is supposed to go south Sarasota, towards Sarasota.
Right.
The wind is supposed to be hitting north in Tampa. Either way, damaging stuff.
Right.
But at least that's the current trajectory. It could change. Anything could change by the time it hits landfall. But with that being said, people have to be prepared. Now, keep in mind, in that area of Florida, you've got, in newer homes, you've got windows that can sustain up to 140, 150 mile an hour winds. That's without, plywood being applied to your home. You've got newer structures that can sustain quite high winds. That's not saying that, if objects are being thrown against your home, that your home is going to be able to withstand something being pitched at 140 miles an hour, 130 miles an hour at your home. It's just a dangerous situation, folks. So again, you have a lot of the entire United States and the world praying for you guys down in Florida that you get through this safely. But just please do what makes sense. What makes best sense for you in this situation. If you're in an evacuation area, please just get out of there. Just get out of there. I know you may be hardened to the situation. You may think, I've been through plenty of these. I'll get through another one. Just don't take the chance. Don't take the chance. It's not worth it.
Well, a lot of people thought that during Katrina, too.
Yeah.
That, they've been through plenty of them. They'll be fine this time around. And then look what happened.
And then there were a lot of people that didn't make it. So,
Yep.
yeah, just don't gamble. Don't gamble with your life. Not worth it. Not worth it at all. We got a big show today, Mal. Lots of stories. Lots of interesting stories. Today, we've got the general lineup of stuff. Although we have an interesting story. There was a story that broke actually today that I want to talk about, having to do with Elvis's daughter and her son.
Oh.
It's a creepy story at that.
Okay.
Lisa Presley, Lisa Marie Presley, actually, and I'll tease this, when her son passed away, if you remember, her son passed away from a drug overdose, I believe. Oh, no, not drug overdose, from suicide. She actually kept the body around for months.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll talk about that today. It's quite the interesting story. It was broke by TMZ earlier today. Interesting story. But it was not kept properly.
Oh.
And there was something that was revealed. It was actually Riley, I believe Riley Keough, her daughter.
Her daughter,
interview with Oprah. It was actually believed that the spirit of her son came back and basically revealed, "Hey, get rid of my body. It's time." So it's kind of a fascinating story. But we'll talk about that later in the program. Also, Judy Spera did an interview with People Magazine. The
Warrens' daughter?
Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting. It's fascinating.
Okay.
And there's a tidbit or two out of that we'll talk about today. We've got some other interesting tidbits. There's a Bigfoot story in there. There's a Loch Ness story in there as well today. But first, we're going to start it off with aliens, of course, because we know how to freak out Mallie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Netflix has a documentary to investigate the greatest alien abduction case known, Mal. I know you'll be tuning in. It's just a joke. I know you won't be. No. An upcoming Netflix...
I like how you're just honest. Yep.
No, Mallie, you can count Mallie out on this deal. An upcoming Netflix documentary will delve into the case of a woman who was abducted in New York in the 1980s. The strangeness began back on November 30th, 1989, when Linda Napolitano, a mother of two who lived in Manhattan at the time, claimed to have been visited by a gray biped that had appeared in her bedroom in the early hours of the morning. She then claimed to have been levitated out of her window by a blue beam of light. What makes the case particularly intriguing are the testimonies of multiple alleged witnesses, some of whom have claimed to have seen her hanging out of her window. The mystery, described by the greatest alien abduction case ever recorded, is the subject of the new Netflix documentary entitled The Manhattan Alien Abduction. In it, investigators look closer at the case, interview witnesses, and an attempt to piece together whether Napolitano really was abducted that night or if there could be an alternative explanation. It will be available to watch on Netflix on October 30th. So
okay.
It's coming up. There's actually a trailer out for it. And I'll tell you what, I'll post the article in the description of this program so you can watch the trailer for it. So there you go.
Yeah. You know, there is a alien story, though, that I'll watch it whenever it's on because I find it fascinating. It was the abduction of Travis. What was his last name?
Travis
W.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That one freaked me out.
You know what?
But I find it fascinating.
It freaked him out so much he falls asleep in random places. I'm just
Stop.
I only tell that joke because I find it so funny that he fell asleep right next to me at a symposium. We're right in the middle of a panel. I know I've told this story before, but I just find it so funny. So we're at a panel here in Minneapolis at the Paradigm Symposium. And he was sitting right next to me, right to my right. And it was a fascinating panel. It really was, Mallie. It was not boring. But I see Travis kind of do this, right? Before I know it.
Not enough.
He was out, right? He's like this. Right? And I'm like, And I look over and there's probably, it was a smaller symposium, so there's probably about 65 people in the room. But he was the draw. That's the thing. He's the draw of the panel. But he was all like,
did you check to make sure he was breathing? That would have been my first thought. Oh my God, he just died next to me.
Because I kind of went like this. I kind of did the, I did the breath test to make sure he was, because I kind of went like this just to make sure he was breathing. I think people thought I was going to tickle him because I kind of got the chuckle, right?
Right.
Like I was going to go, like that. No, I checked to see if he was breathing. He was breathing. Yeah. Because the other thing you worry about is that, someone who falls asleep like that they might, have a bit of a problem with, what do you call it? Where they
narcolepsy?
Narcolepsy, but also with, where they don't get enough oxygen at night when they're sleeping.
Oh, the apnea thing?
Yeah, sleep apnea. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So I was afraid maybe he had a bit of apnea.
Right.
So if he falls asleep in the middle of, in the middle of everybody, that maybe he's not breathing properly. So.
Oh, or maybe he was just so relaxed and comfortable.
It was a little warm in there. Not gonna lie.
That's probably it.
So I think he was a little relaxed. Yeah. I don't blame him.
I find his story fascinating, though.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Well, it's a little scary too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oof.
So I was like, well, how am I going to wake him up? I'm not going to give him the hard elbow.
Right.
He may wake up and think he's being probed all over again and might try and take me out.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to dinner. So, so I thought, well, maybe I'll just kind of gently, tap him. So I just kind of nudged him a little bit, and he kind of, I kind of, welcome back, So yeah, I had to do it kind of, so. But then people giggled when he came back. I don't want you to giggle. I don't want you people to,
embarrass him.
Right, call attention to it, right? I tried to do it at a moment when someone was giving a very poignant part of their talk, or their answer, where everybody was kind of enthralled with what this person was saying, and then I kind of tried to rouse him, but the way he came back was very animated, so I was like, oh, no.
Probably scared the crap out of him.
Yeah. That's what it was. I think he was having a heck of a dream because he was because he was doing this. Yeah. And he was like, it's like, oh no, Travis. I just wanted you to go, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
One of those, one of the little, not not one of those, right? But he did. So it is what it is. But love you though, Travis. You're a great guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, but we were out to dinner with him in Pennsylvania, weren't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He was a great dinner partner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He had some really, really great stories. He had some interesting jokes too.
I don't remember his jokes.
You didn't remember his jokes?
Oh,
yeah. He had some great jokes. Yeah. One or two off-color ones too. I can't tell them here, but
right.
Just saying. So there you go. Our next story has to do with nuclear rockets, Mallie, and if they could be the key to getting humans to Mars. Speaking of Mars.
I
know we're not a political show, but did you see Elon Musk on stage with Donald Trump this weekend?
No, I did not.
Boy, he looked very awkward. He just, the whole jumping up and down thing. You remember when Tom Cruise was jumping up and down on Oprah's couch?
Yes, falling in love with Katie Holmes, or whatever her name is.
It's kind of the same motion.
Okay.
Yeah. If he jumps up and down the way his rockets are going to get us to Mars, we're screwed.
Oh.
Just saying. Yeah. Anyways, the faster you can get a crew to Mars, the better, but conventional propulsion systems may not be up to the task. NASA plans to send crewed missions to Mars, not crude, but crewed as in a crew.
Gotcha.
To Mars over the next decade, but the 140 million mile or 225 million kilometer journey to the red planet could take several months to years round trip. This relatively long transit time is a result of the result of the use of traditional chemical rocket fuel. An alternative technology to the chemically propelled rockets the agency develops now is called nuclear thermal propulsion, which uses nuclear fusion and could one day power a rocket that makes the trip in just half that time. Well, that'd be fun. Just half the time. I mean, if it doesn't blow up on you.
Right, exactly.
Nuclear fission involves harvesting the incredible amount of energy released when an atom is split by a neutron. This reaction is known as a fission reaction. Fission technology is well established in power generation and nuclear-powered submarines, and its application to drive or power a rocket could one day give NASA a faster, more powerful alternative to chemically driven rockets. NASA and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency are jointly developing NTP technology. The plan to deploy and demonstrate the capabilities of a prototype system in space in 2027, potentially making it one of the first of its kind to be built and operated by the U.S., is set to be explored. Nuclear thermal propulsion could also one day power maneuverable space platforms that could protect American satellites in and beyond Earth's orbit, but the technology is still in development. According to the person who wrote this, it says, I'm not saying I am, it's saying I am, the person who wrote this, an associate professor of nuclear engineering at the Georgia Institute of Technology, whose research group builds models and simulations to improve and optimize designs for nuclear thermal propulsion systems. The person who wrote this, their hope and passion is to assist and design the nuclear thermal propulsion engine that will take a crewed mission to Mars. Interesting stuff. Mm-hmm. Let's hope they can do it. That's for sure. They do go on to write that their colleagues hope that this research can one day help develop models that could autonomously control the rocket as well. It sounds fascinating that you could cut the travel time in half.
Right.
You know, I mean, when you consider that travel time as it is right now takes maybe months, even to years as it is to get to Mars, and if you could cut that down to maybe just a few months, my whole thing is when you look at all the first of all, when you look at the harsh conditions on Mars and the fact that there's no atmosphere.
Right.
And we're going there for what? You know, I mean, if it's just to look around and to harvest what you can harvest, okay. Mm-hmm. But to actually try to survive there is a whole nother deal with no atmosphere. I just don't get it. To me, I'm not, unless this planet is in severe danger, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I'm good right here.
Yeah, exactly. Another story about Mars here, Mal. NASA reveals wheel damage sustained by Curiosity rover on Mars. Okay, see if
you got a flat.
Yes, yeah. So if the Curiosity rover is taking damage on Mars, I'm not going there.
Right.
Right. Yeah. After covering 20 miles across the Martian surface, it is perhaps no surprise that the rover has taken a few dings. Okay, if it's dangerous,
where are things like hitting the atmosphere? If it's taking dings, or is it just like the rocks are hitting it, like when you go on a gravel road?
Yeah, I think it like hits divots and it, ding, you know.
It's that damn zebra rock that we talked about last week.
That's what it is. Having been trundling around on the surface of a distant, inhospitable world since 2012, well, it's been, jostled around for 12 years, right? It's perhaps remarkable that Curiosity is even still functioning at all, it says, especially after covering a large distance across hostile terrain while being exposed to dust storms, radiation, and other hazards. Well, then why do we want to go?
Exactly. Yeah. You lost me at radiation. I can maybe handle a dust storm.
Yeah. One or two dust storms, maybe some wind, but no radiation. Yeah. That's not to say that it hasn't picked up some damage along the way, however. To demonstrate the toll that Mars has taken on the rover, NASA has published 2 new photographs showing significant damage to the treads of Curiosity's wheels. Oh, great. The tires went bald. Who's going to change the tires on Curiosity? That's all I got to say. While the damage looks bad, the space agency has emphasized that the wheels are still working well. These big wheels just keep on turning. NASA wrote from the perspective of the rover, and then they said, "Proud Mary, keep on burning." No, they didn't say that at all. Recent photos of my wheels got some of you worried, but I'm here to reassure you we're just fine, is the quote. If it came down to it, I could shed part of them off and keep on rolling. According to NASA mission operations engineer Ashley Stroop, the images are part of the team's periodic check-in our wheels to see how they're holding up on the rough terrain. Oh my gosh, you don't want to see the wheels. I'm just saying.
Hopefully it does better than my Roomba.
Right?
That sucker. It gets jammed all the time.
the Roomba wouldn't last more than a few minutes on Mars.
Right.
I'm telling you. Yeah. It says the rover is still holding up well despite taking some of the worst abuse from Mars, she added. Here's a picture of the wheels. Take a look at this. How are we going to survive if the wheels look like this?
Oh.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
We're going to get holes blown in us the minute we go
Yeah.
up to Mars. You know, some Mars animal is going to come out of a hole somewhere and just stick its forked tongue right through our abdomen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're done for. I'm not. There's giant holes in this tread.
Yeah. I don't know how it's supposed to keep moving when it was talking about shedding a tire or two. If they're all like that.
Yeah.
It's screwed.
What the hell is it running over?
Yeah,
Weird.
that's true too.
Well, if you think
Or what kind of quality is the tire? If it's just running over some rocks and it does that.
I think it's a little bit better than a steel belted radial. But I think it's got to be a little bit more sturdy than that. But I don't know. It's probably a little bit better than what they're making there in Detroit, but probably I don't know.
I don't know. It looks like one of my son's remote control tires, so that he has to go up and down the street.
Yeah, it might be one of those monster truck tires. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, if you think tires on Mars are being destroyed, I have something that's even worse. Scientists are finding evidence of a second dinosaur-killing asteroid. We're going back in time, Mallie, to tell you about that big bang on Earth.
Right.
I'm not talking about the Big Bang, but the big asteroid that got rid of the dinosaurs. They're saying there might have been two of them. It looks as though there might have been more than one asteroid strike that killed off the dinosaurs. After dominating the planet for more than 150 million years, the dinosaurs, which were some of the most successful creatures ever to walk the face of the Earth, were completely wiped out by a catastrophic asteroid strike that brought about unimaginable devastation at the end of the Cretaceous era, some 66 million years ago. For years, scientists have been keen to learn more about this killer space rock, but now, in a surprising twist, evidence has been found to suggest that this deadly asteroid wasn't alone. In a new study published this week, scientists at Scotland's Heriot-Watt University have revealed new three-dimensional scans of another large crater that had formed at around the same time. Known as the Nadir Center, which sounds like a very prestigious center. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It measures 5 miles wide, and it can be found today beneath the floor of the Atlantic Ocean off the west coast of Africa. Our scans reveal this crater in 3 dimensions for the first time we've ever been able to see inside an impact crater. Bless you. Scientist Dr. Eusdeen Nicholson told The Independent the asteroid that produced this mammoth crater was over 1,300 feet wide. That's almost 8 times the size of the space rock that leveled part of Tunguska, Siberia, back in 1908. While it has not been as destructive as the main asteroid that struck 66 million years ago, if it had struck at around the same time, it may have been enough to push the dinosaurs over the edge to extinction. It's also possible that these 2 space rocks were part of the same asteroid that perhaps broke apart into smaller pieces before colliding with the Earth. Make no mistake, though, if something the size of this newly discovered second asteroid struck the Earth today, the result would be absolutely devastating, which is not comforting.
No, not at all. Could you imagine you survive the first one and then the second one comes and you're like, son of a biscuit.
You're like, no.
Exactly as it comes hurling towards you.
Just as something like that hit the earth, right?
Wow.
Yeah. Can you imagine seeing that thing coming at you? Just being like, well, too late.
Mm-hmm.
Kiss my arse goodbye. Let's see if that yoga came in handy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I knew I should have ate more sugar.
Right? Yeah.
All the healthy things you do, and then that comes, you're like, I could have done so many things.
Why didn't I eat dessert first?
Yes, exactly.
Nah. Why?
Doctor told me to watch my cholesterol. I should have had the steak.
For what? All those poor dinosaurs are like, why did I eat all that vegetation?
Yeah.
I should have been a meat eater.
Yep. Yeah, what were they called? Herbivores or whatever?
Yep.
Why was I a herbivore?
I should have been a carnivore.
Uh-huh.
Why didn't they invent sugar in my day? I could have ate all the sugar cane. Mm-hmm. Well, Mallie, it turns out in this interesting little story I have in front of me that we aren't the only species that was subjected to climate change.
Okay. All right.
This is where certain groups in our audience are going to go, boy, is my bullshit meter on fire right now. And this is where other audience members will say, see?
Yeah.
It turns out that aliens are also suffering from the effects of climate change. You may start laughing whenever you want. Technological alien civilizations could render their own home worlds uninhabitable within 1,000 years, that according to this latest study. Right.
Oh, Lordy.
I'll continue reading and try not to laugh in between the sentences. While it's obviously difficult to speculate on the development of alien civilizations, in a new study, astrophysicists determined that in all likelihood, climate change is not a phenomenon unique to Earth, but is in fact something that could cause problems for any technologically advanced civilization. By running simulations, they determined that any civilization that experiences exponential technological growth and energy consumption will change their own planet's climate to such an extent that it will be rendered uninhabitable within as little as 1,000 years.
Do you think someone just got a grant to figure that out, that aliens or other civilizations could be affected by climate change?
But, okay, so here's the thing. Okay, and I'll clarify this as soon as I'm done reading this.
Uh-huh.
This is the case even if they exclusively use renewable forms of energy, they say. This is because no matter how efficient the energy system, some of the heat will leak out and heat up the planet's atmosphere over an extended period of time. You can think of it like a leaky bathtub, said astrophysicist and study co-author Manasvi Lingam. Of course, this doesn't take into account potential technologies capable of reducing or reversing this effect, nor does it take into account an interplanetary civilization that generates power off-world. It could also be possible to carefully balance resources to avoid a runaway heating effect. If a species has opted for equilibrium, has learned to live in harmony with its surroundings, that species and its descendants could survive maybe up to 1 billion years, says Lingam. Okay, now time out. We're judging this on human standards and human technology and the Industrial Revolution and what we've done on this planet and using fossil fuels and what it is we've done. And hey, we discovered fire, so we're going to burn the shit out of everything. So we've just, we've said.
I thought of Beavis and Butthead with the burning when you said that.
Right. Well, fire. So
sorry.
No, it's okay. No. It's very good. It was very good. Thank you. So, there's such a thing as, if you take it from the alien side of things, they discovered supposedly light without heat, right? Mm-hmm. They've discovered power using magnetism or using propulsion systems that have nothing to do with rockets. So if they're using either nuclear fission or rockets or magnetism or using whatever it is to propel themselves around the universe, lasers, whatever it is, they're on systems that are light years ahead of what we're using. They're using energy systems that have nothing to do with fossil fuels. So chances are they haven't done anything to their atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you judging them?
Yeah, true.
You know, I think this guy is, again, like you said, Mallie, probably getting a grant from somewhere that's paying him handsomely to throw the climate change thing out there. So there you go. Finally, our final story, as if climate change wasn't bad enough for you today, let's throw some coronavirus around for you.
Okay.
Turns out the coronavirus pandemic changed the temperature of the moon.
What? Good God.
I'm just all gloom and doom today. In an unexpected discovery, it turns out that the lockdown that we all went under actually had a measurable impact on the lunar surface. You ready for this?
Yeah.
When millions of people across the world stayed at home at the height of the pandemic back in 2020, the lack of activity worldwide combined to produce some unusual and unexpected effects. Now, according to a new study, one of these effects was the cooling of the surface of the moon. Interesting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Scientists at India's Physical Research Laboratory in Ahmedabad noted that the nighttime lunar surface temperature had significantly decreased during the height of the lockdown in 2020. They determined that the most likely explanation for this anomalous dip, which, by the way, I serve at parties, every single party. I have the anomalous dip, Mallie.
Uh-huh.
It goes over wonderfully. People love it with a good sour cream and onion chip.
I think it would be hard to say that, though, especially if you've been drinking, to have the dip and chips. The anomaly, what is it called?
The anomalous dip.
The nominal, yeah. See, I can't even say it sober. Too many syllables.
the anomalous dip.
Anomalous dip.
Yes, the anomalous. Yes.
But see, I sound like I'm drunk trying to say it.
The anomalous.
My mouth is lazy.
The anomalous dip.
Anomalous.
Yes. They determined that the most likely explanation for the anomalous dip, you're not gonna make me say it wrong. Was that the overall amount of heat and pollution produced by human civilization at night had reduced sufficiently enough to cause a notable drop in lunar surface temperature. Okay. Mm-hmm. Therefore, our study shows that the moon has possibly experienced the effect of COVID-19 lockdown, visualized as an anomalous decrease in lunar nighttime surface temperatures during that period. That according to researchers. Their findings are particularly interesting because they show just how much of an impact our activities here on Earth can actually have, even on other planetary bodies. In this work, we have utilized a rare and unique opportunity of COVID-19 to carry out our study, which may never occur again. Well, it will in another 100 years when we have another pandemic.
Right. But hopefully I'll be gone by then.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying.
It'll just be my head.
Yeah. Yes. Our heads in jars will be able to tell our
I remember 100 years ago.
That's right. We'll be able to tell our future progeny, hey, check the temperature of the moon.
Yes.
100 years ago, we screwed it up, but check it again. We just want to make sure. It can also be further substantiated from moon-based observatories in future as advocated by some researchers. That's the quote from those scientists that, or the study authors that are getting geeked out about the temperature of the moon from the lockdown. So there you go. All right. When we come back, it turns out that a bunch of emoji drones set a Guinness World Record. We'll talk about that when we come back. AI doing funny
AI stuff.
Yeah. AI doing AI stuff.
Yeah.
That's when we come back. Judy Spera, is in the news. She did an interview with People magazine. We'll talk about that. Lisa Marie Presley kept her son's dead body in residence 2 months after he was dead.
In residence?
In residence.
Ew.
We'll talk about that when we get back. That's a story. We've got Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster stories for you this week. And how are we wrapping up this week? Oh, we're going to wrap up this week with the world's largest treasure hunt.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So that's how we wrap up this week on Supernatural News with myself, Tim Dennis, and Mallie Fox right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. You're listening and watching Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Right over there is Mallie Fox. It's a Supernatural News Wednesday. Parashare. We got to talk about this, folks. If you have a Parashare story that you want to share with us, you can do it one of three ways. You can email us, tim@darknessradio.com. Submit your written story by email there. You can go to our website, darknessradioshow.com. Click on that blue button on the right-hand side. You can submit your voice note. You've got 2 minutes to do so when you click on that blue button. If you need more time, click on that blue button again. Give us another 2 minutes. I'll stitch it together. We'll put it here on the show and air your voice note here. The third way, if you have a cool little studio like this one here, make your own theater of the mind. Put your music, your sound effects, your story on your voice, your lovely voice behind all of it. I'll review it. If it's airable, we'll put it here on the show. So there you go. 3 ways in which you can submit your story for Parashare here on Darkness Radio. Oh, Mallie. Today was such a lovely day outside. I got to tell you, though, I'm getting a little worried about the chippers. You know, we're getting closer to fall. Lovely day outside. But I step outside and I hear chirping everywhere. Which normally chirping is the international chipmunk signal for there's danger, right?
Yeah.
But these little guys have figured out a way to chirp for different reasons. Sometimes they chirp because they're happy. Sometimes they're chirping because they're concerned. Sometimes they're chirping because the mailman's driving by. Sometimes they're chirping at the kids going to school on the school bus. They're like, hey, have a good day, which is not why they're supposed to be chirping, right?
Right.
Lately, they're chirping because they're yelling at me. They're not supposed to be yelling at me. But lately they're chirping at me because the food dish is empty.
Hey, a little attitude.
Well, they're all getting attitude now. But now they're getting attitude from the garage. And the food dish is outside. But here's what happens. So I bring my phone outside and I'll put it in order to get their attention, to let them know that I'm outside, I'll put the I've got direct TV stream, right? So I'll put the TV on, or I'll put on Sirius XM radio so that they've got music or whatever to let them know I'm outside. So we got a little something to groove by, a little something to listen to. Well, that normally is a happy thing to let them know that, hey, we're outside, we're grooving, we're having a little party, right? Right? And they're generally pretty happy about that. So they come on out and they know it's time to eat, right? Food's outside. Well, they hear the music now. They're like, hey, there's no food out here. I'm like, hey, I know, right? Well, I got one, but not 2 of them chirping at me today.
Oh.
I got one in the garage who's chirping at me. It's like, hey, I went out there and there's no food. So I went in the garage and I'm trying to figure out what the one's chirping at. The one is sitting way up high on a shelf. Way up high on a shelf. Going, hey, go out there and look. Go out there and look in the dish. I'm like, okay, I'll go look at the dish. So I go out there, and as I'm going out to look in the dish, here's Spud. Hey, go look. Not only is there not sunflower seeds, there's no almonds, there's no peanuts. All right, I'll go fill it.
Right.
Mind you, it was filled in the morning. This is the afternoon fill.
Oh.
They get multiple fills per day. Do you wonder why I'm going broke? I don't know. So, anywho, I go and I fill the dishes. As I'm going to fill the dishes, so Spud is kind of standing there. I didn't know that chipmunks could fold their arms like this while you're filling dishes.
Seriously?
Yeah, but the chipmunk is...
like it's overseeing. It's a supervisor.
Right. It's a supervisory position. So Spud folds her little arms like this and is kind of tapping her little foot like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And as soon as I get all the dishes filled, she takes a peanut and walks away. That was it. Happy little chipmunk.
Got her away. Used.
I do feel used. But happy because they were happy at that point. But then they came back out and played. So, yeah. They just wanted to make sure that everything was right in the world. Yeah. And I thought that's all it took to make them happy. Just fill the dishes. Now, think about this. I used to think, well, they're just wild little creatures, right? And I just happen to make things simpler for them now. Now they've domesticated me. I'm the one who's domesticated because now I'm answering to a bunch of chipmunks. How did that happen? I became a butler for chipmunks, Mallie. Next, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to end up becoming a butler for AI. Yeah. Pretty soon the machines will know how to run me. I know what's going to happen next. Know what else is going to happen?
What?
The machines are going to take over this podcast.
Probably.
Turns out that Google's AI has launched a podcast. And it's drawing crowds. I have the story right here. A Google research tool called Notebook LM, has been going viral thanks to a feature that transforms text documents into lively podcast-style conversations. Businesses see AI's future and its power to streamline work processes, but the public keeps getting hooked by its ability to impersonate humans. Notebook LM is a Google project designed to help researchers use a ChatGPT-style AI bot to explore a specific set of data like web pages, research papers, or notes. You feed the bot your docs, then it asks questions about them. Last month, the company introduced a feature called Audio Overview that turns these data sets into fluent, sometimes funny dialogue. With one click, two AI hosts start up a lively deep dive conversation and discussion based on your sources. A Google blog post explains they summarize your material, make connections between topics, and banter back and forth. The facsimile is remarkably lifelike, or really podcast-like. Oh, good God.
So it can do sophomore humor like us?
Yeah. It can totally make fun of your project.
Oh, we lost our job, Timmy.
They took their jobs. Get this, Mal. They do use male and female hosts. So, we're both out. Fresh out. The chatter between male and female hosts is full of pauses like ums and This American Lifestyle interjections. Get this. This is where it gets interesting. Stuff like that. Yeah. They don't do the shreddy balls thing, though. So,
right.
Yeah. Inventive users quickly start providing audio overview with outside-of-the-box prompts. If you get Notebook LM a spreadsheet, the audio overview host will earnestly analyze your statistics for you. But if you tell it to role-play the human hosts of a deep dive podcast who have just learned that they're really AI programs and they're about to be fired, you get something wild like this. Ready for this? Host one says, I tried calling my wife, after they told us I needed to hear her voice to what? To know what? That she was real. Host two said, what happened? Host one says, the number is, it wasn't even real. There was no one on the other end. It was like she never existed. Host two says, I don't know what to say. Host one says, we don't even know if we is even the right word. God, this is so messed up. humor is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and half our humor is based on our own personal experiences or experiences that we share together with other people. So how is that going to be created by AI? You know what I mean?
Let's see if they got our other humor right. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
In another creative tour de force, someone gave audio overview a document that consisted entirely of the words poop and fart, repeated 1,000 times.
Sounds like my 12-year-old.
This is something I'd do.
Right.
The program's voices gamely riff for 10 straight minutes about whether the infantile repetition might harbor some meaning or artistic value. Host 2 says, "Can we find meaning in the seemingly meaningless? Because that's what we're faced with here." Host 1 says, "So how do we even begin to unpack this? Is it a statement of bodily functions? A commentary on the absurdity of life? Or is it just someone messing with us, seeing if we'd actually spend an entire deep dive overthinking a document full of poop and fart?"
Good God.
They reference Andy Warhol and Marcel Duchamp before suggesting that sometimes a poop is just a poop and a fart is just a fart. Yikes. Notebook LM's viral moment is another reminder that, as with the original AI overnight sensation ChatGPT, skillful digital imitations of human expression and behavior have a mesmerizing effect on us. When confronted with an artificial semblance of humanity, we want to believe that it's real. Anthropomorphic tech will always wow us, for a time at least, but these tricks quickly become mundane and eventually dull us and are passé. Human media consumers like chatbots really are novelty-seeking creatures, and we easily grow bored. I don't know. What do you think, Mallie? A random podcast based on a spreadsheet?
No, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm enthralled with that. But would you be enthralled by this? An emoji drone show that broke Guinness World Records?
Maybe?
Well, let's see if it's thrill-worthy. A British man who developed an interest in drone shows while undergoing treatment for cancer broke the Guinness World Record for the most emojis formed by drones in 3 minutes.
Huh.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Christopher Bradbury said his passion for all things aerial began in 2007. He said, "I started flying model aircraft in 2007 as a kind of bucket list item as I was going through chemotherapy for cancer." He told that to Guinness World Records. "I found it got me out of the house, which was great for my physical therapy as well as my mental well-being at the time." Bradbury developed his skills over the years. "The drone world has basically become my entire life," he said. "I now do aerial filming for TV and film. I do surveying work, and I've started playing with drone swarms." That just sounds dangerous, doesn't it? Playing with drone swarms. Mm-hmm. Bradbury took on a Guinness World Record by programming his 109 drones to form images of emojis, including eggplant, poop, rocket, magnet, and various faces in the sky. Do you think he did the eggplant followed by the water squirts? And
oh, jeez Louise. God, and there's our sophomore humor. AI has nothing on us.
That's right. He managed to form 30 emojis in 3 minutes, breaking the previous record of 24.
Wow.
Do you really? I mean,
well, I like watching fireworks, so maybe for 3 minutes it has my attention.
Yeah, I mean, I could hang in there.
Shapes in the sky.
I could hang in there for 3 minutes, I suppose.
I mean, good for him, though. He achieved a goal. He got in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Actually, the coolest thing I think I've ever seen, I know I'm going to get geeky here for a second. The coolest thing I ever saw for a wrestling entrance was at WrestleMania before Bray Wyatt died. They did when he came down as the Fiend. They had a drone show, And it formed a couple of different logos for him in the sky at WrestleMania. I thought that was pretty cool. But that was like 3 or 4 different logos. That wasn't 30.
Right.
And it was during his theme song. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I digress. He said, he went on to say, it takes a lot of 3-dimensional spatial planning to make sure that all goes through safely. I suppose those drones can hit each other in midair and then you're done, right? Bradbury said he would welcome his record being broken. I would love it in 10 years' time. He would love it in 10 years' time if his record was smashed. And it's done by someone who says, I did it because I saw Chris Bradbury's video. That would be amazing.
That would suck if someone broke his record like in a month.
Yeah.
He did all that work and he can't even enjoy it for a while.
Right.
The book hasn't even been published yet. It's not off the presses. And he's already getting beaten.
It's some 12-year-old kid.
Exactly.
Chris Bradbury was my hero, man. You're 12. I know, but I'm going to go for 32.
He's got accepted to MIT early.
Oh, that'd be so sad, but so funny.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, well. Meanwhile, and this is probably the scariest story I have today. I don't know if you're going to like this story, Mel.
Okay.
Freaky new AI simulation allows people to chat with their future version of themselves.
Nope. Don't like it. And my future self was probably like, girl, you should have.
Here's what you should have done.
Told me off. You should have done this, that.
You took a wrong turn at Albuquerque.
Yep.
Human beings could soon be able to or talk to a future version of themselves to help with their mental well-being.
Nope. I don't see it helping.
It says here, do you want to imagine yourself with gray hair? Too late. And extra wrinkles imparting wistful wisdom to your current self? All I got to do is look in the mirror, sweetheart. It says here, some boffins in the U.S. have come up with a way that you can do just that. Researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT, created Future You, which is an AI system that creates a synthetic memory of a person to try and replicate someone's personal qualities. Oh, boy.
Might be like, did you really want that second bite of cheesecake? Put it down.
Put it down. This, it is hoped, will recreate a realistic conversation that seems as though the computer system is adopting your own persona. The software creates a version of someone age 60. And a hush falls over the crowd, simulating what life could be like in the future, or not too distant future, as well as giving insight on advice and ways of approaching life. Science Daily reported that an initial study found after interacting with Future You for about half hour, people reported decreased anxiety and felt a stronger sense of connection with their future selves. The latest version of the study release online said, our system allows users to chat with a relatable yet AI-powered virtual version of their future selves that is tuned to their future goals and personal qualities. To make the conversation realistic, the system generates a synthetic memory, a unique backstory for each user that creates a through line between the user's present age, between 18 and 30, and their life at age 60. The Future You character also adopts the persona of an age-progressed image of the user's present self. After a brief interaction with the Future You character, users reported decreased anxiety and increased future self-continuity. This is the first study successfully demonstrating the use of personalized AI-generated characters to improve the user's future self-continuity and well-being. Wow, this is a name. Hold on a second here. Pat Patrantua Porn, a tech boffin who is working on AI and was the co-lead author of a paper on Future You, said, We don't have a real time machine yet, but AI can be a type of virtual time machine. We can use the simulation to help people think more about the consequences of the choices that they are making today. So with that in mind, Mallie, you being only 29 years old and eligible for this experiment, if you wanted to go forward and talk to your 60-year-old self, what would you say?
I have a feeling if I was trying to talk to my 60-year-old future self, we'd both be like, what was I just talking about? Like going off on a tangent and then like getting distracted. Ooh, shiny paper. And then it would just be, yeah. It would be entertaining for other people to watch, but not so much for myself.
Yeah. I think about what my nephew might say to it. He'd probably be like, dude, do we have a house? Dude, are we still married? Dude, do we still have a really cool truck? Dude, do I make a lot of money? There probably wouldn't be a lot of, I can't imagine there'd be a lot of deep stuff there.
Right. Can I make my AI future self like with glamour shot, like the soft light?
Yes.
The profile pictures that was taken like 15 years ago.
Yes.
Stuff like that. Can I
can just
mold it to what I want it to be rather than what it probably is going to be?
I can just imagine that your 60-year-old self probably looks like your 90-year-old self.
Yeah.
For AI. I imagine they just turn it up to 11, right? And you look like one of the California raisins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like the California raisins with a white wig on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'm sure you probably look horrible at 60. When really at 60, you don't look that bad at all, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, 60 is the new 50, isn't it?
Right. Well, it's the new 40, really.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
New 40.
Yeah. So I'm sure that they try to make you look horrible. AI does. So yeah. I mean, it's just funny. It's just funny. So, yeah. So yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what the experiment looks like. So there you go. It's funny the things we do with technology, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Very funny indeed. Not so funny. A story that came up by TMZ today, Mal, which was alarming. I love watching TMZ live when I'm having my lunch every day because they love to. And TMZ has their own paranormal programming now.
Oh, they do? I didn't know that.
They do. I'm trying to remember the name of the show, but it airs in certain markets. It's only airing in 12 markets. And I'll get the name of the show here, and I'll tell you what it is here. As a matter of fact, you know what? I think I can pull it up here. Let me pull it up here while we're talking.
Sure.
But TMZ Live, Harvey and Charles love to grab little stories. Like last week, it was about the Minnesota Monster.
Okay.
Which the Minnesota Monster, surprise, surprise, was just a hybrid wolf dog.
Right.
But it was a creature that the University of Minnesota couldn't name. And it was a huge wolf dog. It was one that stood, probably up to your rib cage. But they love to pull celebrity ghost stories. They love to pull different things that are on the fringe that are part of the supernatural and metaphysical. In fact, I think it's Charles more than anybody loves to pull these different stories of the fringe. It's called Strange and Suspicious is the name of the offshoot supernatural programming that airs in 12 different Fox markets that TMZ started. Now, they're in a new season of Strange and Suspicious. I think they might have just ended it, but they're doing different 12-week runs of it, 13-week runs of it in different Fox markets, Minneapolis being one of them.
Okay.
And it's a great program. In fact, our friend Ben Hansen, who used to be on Factor Fake.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah. No.
Wait.
Yeah, Factor Faked?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben Hansen.
Then he was on that other show too, which I forget what it was called.
Yes, but former FBI agent. He is one of the correspondents on that show.
Okay.
But it's a fascinating program. And they look into all things strange and unusual, down to conspiracy theories, to ghost stories, to cryptid stories, a bunch of interesting things on Strange and Suspicious. So one of the stories that they tracked down today on TMZ, and this is Tuesday as we're recording this, had to do with Lisa Marie Presley. And there's an interview out there that was conducted by Oprah Winfrey on Riley Keough, who is Lisa's daughter. Mm-hmm. And this came out during an interview with Riley Keough. I'm sorry, it's according to her new memoir, which was completed by Riley Keough. Lisa Marie Presley was so heartbroken over her son Benjamin Keough's death that she kept his body at home for 2 months. That is in her new memoir. And again, Riley Keough completed that memoir after Lisa Marie Presley's death in 2023. In a segment from the memoir, From Here to the Great Unknown, Lisa Marie revealed that she fought to stay alive for her kids, including her twin daughters, Harper and Finley Lockwood, who are now 16. And that's why she couldn't bring herself to say goodbye to Benjamin right away. While Lisa Marie wrestled with the decision of whether to bury Benjamin in Hawaii or at Graceland in Tennessee, where Elvis is buried, she kept him in a separate casita at her home in Calabasas, California. It worked out since California doesn't have laws requiring immediate burial. Keep this in mind, okay? Lisa Marie shared that she found a compassionate funeral home owner who brought Ben to her, and she kept him at 55 degrees in her home to preserve his body. There's only one problem with that. A 55-degree temperature does not preserve a body.
No, I would think you would have to freeze it, like deep freeze.
You have to keep it at freezing temperature, correct. She admitted it was pretty weird having her son there, saying, I think it would scare the living piss out of anybody else to have their son with them like that, but not me. Nonetheless, Lisa Marie took it a step further. She and Riley honored Benjamin by getting matching tattoos. Benjamin died by suicide in 2020. He was eventually laid to rest at Graceland right next to Elvis, and Lisa Marie was buried there later on too. There's some interesting, let me see here. I'm gonna bring this up here, if I can. There's some interesting audio here in which Charles and Harvey point out a few other facts that have to do with some of the strange circumstances. These are strange circumstances, Mallie. I mean, just bizarre circumstances having to do with the case in general. And the circumstances surrounding Benjamin's death and how they stored Benjamin and what Lisa Marie's mindset was around this entire thing. I can't put it into words but just sitting here and listening to all this was, well, it was fascinating to say the least. Let me pull up the audio here so you can listen to this and you can hear it for yourself.
There is a memoir out with some shocking information. It is a memoir from Lisa Marie Presley, who you know has died.
Yes.
She had not finished the book. Her daughter, Riley Keough, finished it for her.
Yes.
And in this book, there is talk about a really tragic event in their lives where Lisa Marie's son, Benjamin, committed suicide when he was very young, an adult. And the way the body was handled raises some eyebrows.
Yes, because in the book, they talk about the fact that Benjamin's body was kept at Lisa Marie's home in Calabasas for 2 months. 2 months, and this is how Lisa describes it in the book. She says, my house has a separate casita bedroom, and I kept Ben in there for 2 months. I got so used to him caring for him and keeping him there. I think it would scare the living blanking piss out of anybody else to have their son there like that, but not me.
So Riley then gave her view of this as she finished the book.
She said, we all got this vibe from my brother that he didn't want his body in this house anymore. Even my mom said that she could feel him talking to her, saying, this is insane, Mom. What are you doing? What the bleep?
So what we should say is that they did have the body embalmed right after Benjamin died. There was an autopsy performed, and then the body was taken back to Lisa Marie's house, and she kept it in this casitas at 55 degrees. That kind of raised my eyebrows
because 55 doesn't seem like it's cold enough to preserve the body. Now, the embalming, I would guess, does that, but for how long?
Well, we did some digging on this. Embalming will preserve a body for a number of days, but at 55 degrees, it's not really cold enough to prevent decomposition. And under the law, there's a California law that says you have to dispose of the remains within a reasonable amount of time. And that's for public health reasons. You don't want bacteria and off-gassing and so forth. So is it reasonable 2 months with embalmed body in 55 degrees? Maybe not. And that's actually would have been a misdemeanor crime. Obviously, all of that is out the window because Lisa Marie has passed away. But it is
well, actually, the statute of limitations wouldn't have run because he died just like 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's all not an issue anymore. But the body would have decomposed definitely within weeks, according to the research we've done.
Yeah.
And they kept it for 2 months. On a level, I understand this because it was so tragic.
Right.
And you don't want the finality of burying or cremating when you're going through that kind of an emotional turmoil. But still, to have the body there, to see it decomposing.
And the family being aware of it the whole time. Like, talk about something that over the course of that 2 months, what was being discussed in that? There's no way you're in the house having a discussion about anything. Without that.
About anything.
Being.
I agree with Harvey. It's incredibly heartbreaking, though. Remember, he died by suicide, so parents do wrestle with guilt issues. Even if it's not your fault specifically that your loved one dies by suicide, you wrestle with those issues. And it sounds like the finality of actually disposing of the remains really stuck with her for a number of months. It's quite relatable on some level.
And what they ended up doing was they took the body to Graceland, where Benjamin was buried, and he is now buried next to Lisa Marie, who is also buried in Graceland.
So there you go, Mallie. Incredibly disturbing. That's the only way to put that. Incredibly disturbing. I mean, I understand grief. I get grief. Mm-hmm. I get that you, especially with a child, you don't want to let that child go. Mm-hmm. But, to then think that you're depending on some sort of supernatural signal to eventually put that child in the ground. I mean, that's a whole nother thing entirely. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's I don't know. That's just unnerving. To me, that's unnerving.
I would have a hard time knowing that there's a dead body, like in a bedroom on, so many feet from where I'm at.
Right. And the health implications alone are...
right. Did it smell?
It had to. I mean, even at 55 degrees, imagine your refrigerator operates at 40 degrees.
Yeah, and you can smell when something's gone bad in your refrigerator.
Right. And when something's gone bad in your refrigerator, it's horrible.
Yeah.
So at 55 degrees, you had to imagine. And the embalming, like Harvey and Charles was saying, is only holds up for so long. It's only a matter of days. But, I mean, the things people do when they, when it's their child.
Mm-hmm. Fun fact, when I was a young kid. I was like less than a year old. I had meningitis, and they told my father was in the Navy. He was on a submarine, and they told my mom that they didn't expect me to live. So there was discussions about putting me on dry ice long enough to preserve my body for when my father would get to port and they could notify him that what was going on with me, because you don't tell him on a nuclear submarine. This is like 1972. So they were going to dry ice me to preserve my body so that my dad could get back and see me before they were to bury me.
Oh my gosh. Wow. How traumatic. That's, wow.
But I'm here, suckers!
That's right, suckers.
You thought you had me.
Well, we're glad to have you. We're glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, but my mom being, 20, 21 at the time, being told,
Still,
she's all by herself.
Yeah. She still went out and got the ice. No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, she was going to do it herself. My mom, no, she can't handle the sight of blood.
Because she's like, you could still use it for drinks.
Yeah, exactly. Halloween prop. Make it foggy.
That's right. Make it foggy.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Fox. I didn't mean to make the joke, but come on.
I joke about it all the time. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, well.
You almost got me.
Yeah, almost, but not quite. You missed me by that much. My goodness. Yeah, that was
But still, ugh.
alarming story. But yeah. But
that just sounds like it was her. Like she couldn't release him.
Yeah.
She couldn't put aside her own feelings.
well, and you consider the trauma she went through as a young child to watch her dad die, and then to see.
Or did he?
Or did he? Yeah, maybe
Yes,
he just
for the
walked out.
conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, maybe he just walked out of the house. Became a kung fu master for Nixon. The conspiracy theory. But then, on top of it, to lose your father and then lose your son. And then, I suppose at that point you snap, you just,
Right.
You won't go through another loss. So I could see where that would happen. Let's move on to this other story here. There's an interesting story out there, Mallie, about with the headline, "Why do we tell scary ghost stories?" This story is diving into the psychology behind why people are drawn to such terrifying tales. It says, gathering around a campfire to share bone-chilling ghost stories is a classic camping ritual. These tales can induce nightmares, but some people can't get enough of them. What is it about scary ghost stories that has captivated humanity for thousands of years? Well, there are several possible reasons why people tell ghost stories. One explanation is that our fear of the unknown makes these tales appealing. We don't understand much about death and the afterlife, making supernatural stories terrifying yet intriguing. And when made to be sinister antagonists, ghosts become more menacing and thus more fascinating. Various versions of spirits appear in cultures throughout the world, but the idea of a being that haunts someone or somewhere is particularly Western concept. According to anthropologist Carrie Hirsch, these scary depictions of ghosts may reflect society's discomfort and trauma surrounding conversations about death. She says we tend to have a lot of rituals around death, and some of that is to enact a sense of control over this ultimately unknowable transition. She told that to Northeastern Global News in 2023. As existential psychologist Clay Rutledge explained to the John Templeton Foundation in 2022, believing in the supernatural can also soothe our anxieties about mortality. Although becoming a wandering spirit may not sound appealing, some may view ghost stories as explanations of what can happen after death. They answer existential questions and offer possibilities about a phenomenon that isn't widely understood. Many of us want stimulation from horror, whether we are reading Stephen King novels or watching Wes Craven movies, as Hai Yang and Quang-Ji Zhang wrote for the Harvard Business Review. Seeing or anticipating something scary can stimulate people negatively with fear or anxiety, or positively through excitement or joy. Horror provides both sensations simultaneously, with the most frightening moment unleashing the most pleasure. Fear can also cause adrenaline rushes. People experience boosts in energy and sensations in the fight or flight mindset, which might leave them wanting more. You know, I'll stop right here and I'll just say this. I think most of the people in our peer set, I think they tell those stories more for that reason.
Yes, I agree 100%.
Yeah, it's the boost in energy, it's the adrenaline rush, it's that reason why they tell scary stories. The concept of a protective frame can also be applied to people's ability to enjoy horror. The protective frame can be divided into 3 categories: a safety frame, detachment, and a sense of control. The safety frame is about understanding that an entity in a story or movie cannot harm us, while detachment refers to the skill of mentally disconnecting oneself from the moment of horror because one knows it's not real. The last category applies to controlling the scary things you're exposed to. It's easier to enjoy something terrifying if you're managing the situation and are sure you can overcome it. The psychological concept prevents people from allowing fear to take over and reminds them that it's temporary. As a result, they can be okay with, or even perhaps enjoy, seeing terrifying things. Those without protective frames feel as though they are in danger when witnessing something scary and don't want to experience that discomfort again. Yeah, I think it tends to be the reason why you enjoy it, hearing a scary story or seeing a scary story as far as a movie goes is because of that adrenaline rush. I think it is because of that excitement, and that's the rush that you get from it. And it is the fact that you're safe, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. I think if there were an element of danger to it whatsoever, you wouldn't enjoy it.
Correct.
So, moving on, Judy Spera is in the news. Ed and Lorraine Warren's daughter. She did an interview with People magazine this past week. And there's a bit of I want to say a hint as to how she's continuing their paranormal legacy, although it could be hinted that Tony is doing more for the paranormal legacy, I think, than Judy.
Okay.
She gives her honest thoughts on The Conjuring, which I think is interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. So we'll skip over a lot of the article and let's get to the meat of this thing. They do point out Judy is married to Tony, which is interesting. They talk about how in the late 70s, Judy met Tony, who's a police officer. In a self-published essay on his website, Spera says that Judy drove by him one day while he was on duty, and he was instantly taken aback by her beauty. He said, "I sat in my police car writing a report," Tony said, "and glanced up from my notepad only to see a beautiful young woman passing by. She gave a wave and a big smile and then drove quickly by and out of sight." For Tony, it was love at first sight, and thanks to a mutual friend, he was able to connect with Judy later that evening and asked her out on a date. She said yes, and they spent the first night together eating fried chicken and French fries. And now 40 it doesn't that's it's kind of an odd first date, but okay.
Yeah.
And now 40 years since, she is now somehow still saying yes, he wrote. So there you go. It says here, Judy and Tony run a paranormal agency together, just like her parents. Nesper. Everyone's pretty much familiar with it in our audience, but the New England Society for Psychic Research. I almost said paranormal research, but it's psychic research. Judy and Tony run that together. The organization conducts paranormal investigations and holds interviews and panels at conventions. Nesper's website also serves as a hub for Warren fans, complete with archival footage of the Warrens' interviews and case files for their most famous investigations like the Annabelle doll, the Amityville house, the Perron family, and more. According to Nesper's website, the team are continuing the legacy and work of the Warrens through their passionate involvement in paranormal phenomena and desire to keep families, or to help families, not keep them, but to help families afflicted by haunting phenomena. Now, Judy was a central figure in the documentary Devil's Road, the true story of Ed and Lorraine Warren, which actually aired the other night on the Travel Channel. It airs quite frequently on Travel. You can also watch it on Discovery Plus. It's on demand on Discovery Plus. Though Judy stayed away from the spotlight for most of her life, she ended up becoming heavily involved in Travel Channel's 2020 documentary Devil's Road, the true story of Ed and Lorraine Warren. The doc showed a real account of the Warrens' life and career, moving the Hollywood filter of the Conjuring films and instead revealing the actual couple behind the cultural phenomena. Judy told Den of Geek that she was inspired to get involved with the documentary because she wanted to provide a firsthand account of her parents that she hadn't been given before, especially for her mother. When asked why she agreed to the documentary, Judy said because it involved my mother and felt I owed it to her to get on there and speak because I never do this. She continued, they were interviewing people that I didn't know or I hadn't met, and I thought, well, who knew her better than I did? Judy was interviewed extensively for the documentary and became a central figure in the film, sharing her experience of growing up as a Warren. Judy says she does have some supernatural abilities like her mother. Lorraine was known to be a clairvoyant and used her abilities amid investigations. During an interview with Warner Brothers, Lorraine said, from the time that I was about 7 years old, I remember seeing lights around people, and I realized that I was communicating. Judy did tell Den of Geek that she's picked up on a few abilities of her own. She says, I've had things happen that I'll say, oh my gosh, how did that happen? I don't know if you want to attribute it to being anything to do with my mother's gifts, but I have had some things happen. It's a lot of dreams that are very strange and warnings from my father, she said. Interesting. Here's one of the most important things and interesting things. She thinks the Conjuring franchise has kept her parents' spirit alive. On top of spawning 8 films so far and becoming one of the highest grossing horror franchises ever, Judy thinks The Conjuring has helped keep her parents' spirit alive. She says, I just read a quote, and I'm not going to have it exact, but it was so perfect about a person is not really dead until the ripples in the stream stop. Something to that effect, she told comicbook.com. And I thought, well, that's actually how their afterlife is. They're still here because of that, because people are still interested in everything they're doing, and they'll quote them and read about them. I guess, but you know, in this community, in the paranormal community, their name has been kept alive since they've passed.
Yes.
It's just that it's been mainstream with the Conjuring series. So, I mean, I guess that could be argued, but I guess it's more mainstream with the Conjuring series. Interestingly enough, Judy and Tony no longer run the Warren Occult Museum.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either. The Conjuring films turned the Warren Occult Museum, which was filled with all the Warrens' haunted memorabilia, into a massive tourist attraction. But it was located in their old house in a residential neighborhood. And because of the number of visitors, litter, noise, and property destruction that was happening, the museum was closed in 2019, and there are currently no reports of it reopening. Since its closure, Judy and Tony still own many of the haunted items, including the Annabelle doll, and sometimes bring the objects with them to paranormal conventions, including the recent one that Nesper just had, WarrenCon, which was, what was that, 2 weeks ago, I believe?
Yeah, it wasn't very long ago.
Yeah. And they hold WarrenCon at a different location other than at the Occult Museum, which I was aware of that. But I find it interesting that they no longer own the museum. Interesting. But that's that article right there. So, interesting stuff. Let's move on. We have an article here about a video clip showing an alleged Bigfoot sitting against a tree. Now, when you right? Now, when you look at this picture, it looks fake. I hate using the F word. I really do.
Right.
But doesn't this look like somebody in a suit?
Yeah. It's like that one that they found in the cooler, remember, where they were saying it was Bigfoot and you could tell it was a costume?
Yeah. The face on this looks very much like a human face. A highly questionable piece of footage has emerged showing a supposed Sasquatch in the state of Oklahoma. Now, sometimes a video emerges that nobody can quite agree on, a piece of footage that could potentially represent evidence of an unknown species of a large bipedal hominid roaming the forests of North America, and that is convincing enough to at least generate a semblance of discussion over whether or not it is the real deal, is out there now. In other cases, however, the video is so clearly a fake that there's really nothing as to whether there's much debate at all as to this thing. This footage is of an alleged Bigfoot leaning up against a tree in Oklahoma that has been doing the rounds on social media this week, firmly falling into the latter of these two categories. It would certainly be reasonable to state that the creature, which was allegedly stumbled upon in Parallel Forest in Lawton, looks more like someone in a costume than a real animal. And just in case there's any doubt about this, the same uploader also posted up a clip on Facebook showing the same creature dancing across the forest floor to the beat of Turn Down for What by DJ Snake and Lil Jon. God. Okay. Incredibly, the original clip has racked up almost 18 million views on TikTok. Mallie, we need to get in some ghillie suits and start dancing around to Turn Down for What.
Ooh, that, but put that on an OnlyFans page, and we are making bank.
There you go.
After last week's discussion.
That's right.
I'm telling you.
That's right. Tell you what, I'm gonna post this one as well on the description page of this program. You can go watch the supposedly fake Bigfoot going, Turn down for what? And then later, Mallie and I will start our own OnlyFans page where we're dressed up in ghillie suits. Just saying. Naked Bigfoots. Which is funny because they're all naked. So
Right. Yeah, true.
I mean, you're not really getting anything.
Nope.
I wonder if that's the biggest coup in the history of coups. Naked Bigfoot. I may
You kind of got to think about it.
I may make some money on that deal. Fully naked Bigfoot. I may do it.
Go for it.
Just to see if I can make some money. The ideas you put in my head there, Miss Fox. All right. Next story here has to do with, again, a large mysterious creature picked up on sonar in Loch Ness. What is it about fall in Scotland that gets Nessie all stirred up?
Yep.
I don't know. A veteran Loch Ness skipper and his colleague, Skipper, recently picked up something very strange on sonar. The question is, could there be something large lurking in the depths of Scotland's most voluminous loch? The crew of a Loch Ness cruise vessel certainly seems to think so, and they even have evidence to back it up, they claim. During a recent trip across the loch, Sean Sloggy, who's got the best name of today's podcast, evidently, and Liam McKenzie of Cruise Loch Ness managed to pick up evidence of something large moving deep beneath them. Described by Sloggy as the biggest thing he'd ever seen. That's a line if I've ever heard it, right? Would you like to come see my Nessie? The object, whatever it was, seemed to be situated approximately 100 meters beneath the surface of the water. The strangeness of it was chilling, he went on to say. It's the sort of thing that leaves you speechless. We've all seen all sorts of fish that shouldn't be here, but this was different. We're not sonar experts, but I've never seen anything like it, he went on to say. The pair returned to the same location in an effort to pick up the same thing again, but found nothing. So could they have found evidence of the Loch Ness Monster, is the question. It says you can check out the sonar image in the embedded tweet below. Okay, so here's the tweet. This is the embedded sonar image they claim they found.
Oh.
It looks like a big worm.
Yeah. Huh.
Looks like an earthworm. Yeah. I don't know. According to this, if I blow up I'm going to blow up the image real big here, Mel. That's what she said. This is what it says. It says it's at the 98 meter range, right?
Okay.
Does that make any difference if I blow it up? Yeah. On the fishing finder?
Yeah. I don't know.
You know? Okay. So when I really blow it up,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to really blow it up.
Okay.
This is what they found.
Oh.
See it?
Yeah.
If you're watching on video, you'll see the actual creature. It's a video exclusive. You got to go to the video and see it on darknessradioshow.com. I'm going to make this. You see the creature there, Mel?
Yeah.
Okay. Now what do you think?
I don't know what that would be.
That actually looks like something.
Right.
Because here, I'll hold it up again here to the camera. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, it does look like something, but I don't know what it would be.
It looks like it could be potentially a really big turtle.
Yeah. Yeah, because it looks like it has a little shell.
Yeah, it looks like it has a little shell
Yeah.
with a really long neck. Or to me, it looks like it could be a big turtle. A big turtle head poking out. That's right. All right. Our second to the last story today on Supernatural News has to do with an infamous giant grasshopper hoax, which is still intriguing us 85 years later. Mm-hmm. Back in the 1930s, a photographer decided to create a series of fake images pertaining to an invasion of giant grasshoppers. Now, this guy had it going on. Can you imagine being hoaxed by giant grasshoppers in the 1930s? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine that being your biggest fear? Yeah. Giant grasshoppers.
You think it's what do they call it? The second coming or whatever? What is
Yes.
like the 7?
Armageddon.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. While these days fake photographs are extremely easy to create with modern software, back in the 1930s, this was much more difficult to accomplish. I mean, they were doing like little fairies and photographs, things like that. People were a lot less likely to suspect that a photo wasn't real back then as well. When the town of Garden City, Kansas became inundated by a swarm of grasshoppers in 1935, therefore photographer Frank D. Pop Kennard had an idea that would make him quite a lot of money. Grabbing his camera, he took a series of photographs, and then he used his skills as a photographer to superimpose images of grasshoppers into the shots to make the insects appear enormous. In one image, a hunter with a rifle could be seen holding a massive grasshopper in his hand. In another, a group of people could be seen attempting to catch one of the insects in a field. His photographs proved highly popular as postcards, earning him both money and recognition.
The sideshow action.
Yeah, get your groove on. Get your money. Get paid, young man. Incredibly, though, many people believed that the giant grasshoppers were actually real, Mallie.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. There's
Well, back then,
yeah, well,
they weren't used to the stuff we are now.
There's gullible people everywhere.
Yeah.
They say pictures don't lie, Kennard said at the time, but from the sale of these postcards, the fastest-selling novelty cards on the market, it seems that Kansas people like a little funny untruth. The grasshopper postcard sold very well for years, and Kennard continued to print his Whopper Hoppers up until his retirement at the age of 63. Whopper Hoppers. So there you go. And finally, today on the big program, Mallie, the world's longest ever treasure hunt ends after more than 31 years.
Does that mean someone found the treasure?
Well, we'll find out here. Mont Saint-Michel was one of the places hunters looked for an owl. It's a golden owl.
Okay.
So it's no St. Paul winter medallion hunt. That's for sure.
Oh, yep.
Right? Treasure seekers had been attempting to find a golden owl statuette that had been hidden all the way back in 1993.
Oh.
All the way back in 1993. getting old. 31 years ago, French author Regis Hauser buried the prize as a way to help promote his new book, On the Trail of the Golden Owl, which he published at the time under the pseudonym Max Valentine. The idea was that puzzles found within the book would lead to the location of the hidden golden owl. These must have been one hell of a puzzle.
Right.
Right. At the time, Hauser believed that someone would find the prize pretty quickly, noting that the puzzles weren't actually that difficult, and that if all the searchers put all their knowledge together, the owl would be found in, as he believed, 2 hours.
Well, we just proved him wrong with our intelligence level.
That's right. Guess what, Max? Society ain't that brilliant.
Yep.
Incredibly, however, the mystery proved so difficult, to solve that the hunt for the golden owl would take over 30 years, outliving Hauser himself, who died back in 2009.
He doesn't even know.
So it's not like he can hold up the winner's hand and say,
Right.
congratulations, you found the statue.
It just took you 30 years.
Instead, he's doing the zombie walking going. Because he took the precise location of the owl to his grave, whoops, it wasn't until a legal battle ensued between the treasure hunt's co-creator, Michael Becker, and Hauser's heirs that the answers to the riddles in the book were finally obtained, leading to a resurgence of interest in the mystery. Eventually, after 31 years, 5 months, and 9 days, to be exact, someone finally found the location of the owl.
But was it by accident? Could you imagine it was purely accidental?
What am I sitting on? Oh, whoo. Becker wrote, we can confirm that the golden owl was unearthed last night simultaneously with a solution upload that was sent to the online verification system. Oh, they modernized it.
Okay.
There is therefore no need for you to go digging at the location you assume to be the hiding spot. For the winner, the effort will certainly have been worth it, as the owl, which has diamonds in its head, is believed to be worth around $165,000.
Dang. Nice.
It's appreciated over time.
Could you imagine if it was like a gift card and then it expired?
It was an old.
That was the prize money.
It was an old Dunkin' gift card for $5. Yeah. With an owl on it. Or an old, it was an old Woodsy Owl gift card. Give a hoot, don't pollute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether they will actually sell it for the money or keep the owl as a prize, however, remains to be seen.
I think I'd keep it for a prize, for a story, for a while at least.
I don't know if it's worth $165,000. Do you really need another golden owl around the house, Mallie? Just taking up space on your shelf.
True. Just another thing to dust.
Yep. I say liquidize that sucker. Who needs another gold bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
With diamonds in it. I need it. Daddy needs $165,000. Think of how many nice vacations that buys.
Yeah. Think how many nuts you can buy for your chipmunks.
That's right. They'll go through that in about 2 weeks. Geez, that's a whole lot of almonds, peanuts, and sunflower seeds.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you could fill the garage with that.
Mm-hmm.
They'd see that golden owl, they get scared and go run. Because, an owl is a natural predator. So
right.
Yeah, they'd be scared anyways. I couldn't keep that in the house.
Mm.
Yeah, they'd probably want.
All right, so you'd sell it.
Yeah, I'd have to sell it. Yeah. They'd get scared and start chirping and be like, "Get rid of it! Get rid of it! Where's our seeds? Give us our lunch!" I'm just imagining that's what they say. They don't talk to me. I'd be nuts if you think I'd talk to chipmunks. Mm-hmm. Just saying. Anywho, so that's the big show today. That's Supernatural News. You, my dear, have a website that has a whole bunch of neat stuff on it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's called paranormalgirl.com.
Mm-hmm.
What's the latest and greatest going on over there?
I've got the sweatshirts, the hoodies and stuff up now. So they're for sale. Yep. And then tonight I was actually going to make one of my cocktails and take some photos and get that posted in the next day.
Ooh, look at that. All right. Sounds good.
I know.
Sounds good. Of course, if you're tuned into the Science Channel, I believe it is, Strange Evidence. There's always a marathon of Strange Evidence going on where you can catch Mallie on Strange Evidence on the Science Channel.
And how about you? What's going on for you?
What is going on with me? Well, there's just a few, not even a few, there's 1 or 2 rooms left for the Ghost Stories Inc. trip in November up to the Palmer.
Nice.
So you need to get online at the link in the description of this program. Book your tickets because there's only a few tickets remaining to that trip at the Palmer. It's almost sold out. We're going to have a fun time up there. It is a 20s themed trip, not 2020s, but 1920s, right?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So get dressed up in your flapper dress or your zoot suit. Come join us up there. Jessica Freeberg and myself, we're gonna have a good time up there. Let's see what else. What else is going on? Oh yeah, check out the darknessradioshow.com store. Lots of good stuff over there. New stuff for Halloween, including can you see Slimer over here?
Yes.
Yeah, Slimer's in the store now. Yep. What else? Oh, tomorrow's show. I should tell you about tomorrow's show. We have a very interesting show tomorrow. I told people yesterday we would tease tomorrow's show, so we're going to tease tomorrow's show today. How does that sound? Oh, you know what? I forgot to tell people. Okay, so there's a new show that's airing today. We'll do that first.
Okay.
There's a new show I want you guys to check out on Discovery. This new show that's on Discovery is actually, it's one that my cousin and I were talking about at my nephew's wedding. And I want you guys to check it out. It's got an interesting premise. I hate to compare shows, right? And like this show is like this show, but you know, in the TV world, whenever you pitch a show, you say it's this meets this, right?
Right. Yes.
I always hate that pitch, by the way, Mallie. It's horrible. But this new show is, think of, God, I hate to put it this way. It's called Lost Monster Files, okay? And it reopens the recently unearthed case files of renowned cryptozoologist Ivan Sanderson for the first time in over 50 years. So think of what they did with Hans Holzer and opening his files on the Holzer files and have a team investigate his files. On Lost Monster Files, they're taking the father of cryptozoology and opening his files and sending an investigative team to go check out all of these cryptids, right?
Okay.
So they're checking out things like the abominable snowman, chupacabra, the wild man of Minnesota, all of these legendary cryptids. And they have a team including cryptozoologist Brittany Barbieri, tech expert Charlie Mushaw. They're all going out and taking over Sanderson's files.
Okay. Seeing if they can find new evidence.
Yeah. And going after these creatures, right? Awesome show. Lost Monster Files. You'll be able to see it starting today on Discovery. Okay. All right. So I want you to check out this show. If you've seen the trailer for this show, it looks amazing, right?
Cool.
It's kind of got that Indiana Jones feel to it.
Right.
It's great look to it. So they're going to do everything from applying long hidden insights and clues from Sanderson's physical specimens, journals, audio recordings. They'll carry each case forward to new field investigations. They'll use tools and evidence not available in Sanderson's day to try and track down these creatures.
Oh, okay.
Okay? To give you an idea of what they're doing on the show.
Gotcha.
And let's just say we may have a couple of these researchers here on the show.
Ooh.
Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
very cool.
Check out the show on Discovery. And then maybe we'll have a couple of those researchers right here and we'll talk to them. That's your assignment. But on tomorrow's show, see, I got you all built up. I got you all built up for that show. But on tomorrow's show, an old friend of ours, Carl Abramson, will be with us. He's got a brand new book out talking about the kind of the history of dark magic throughout the 80s into current day.
Okay.
And his experiences with different magicians, including the legendary Aleister Crowley.
Ooh.
And other magicians. The book is fascinating. I mean, he just is a fascinating individual, to say the least. Meetings with Remarkable Magicians is the name of the book.
Okay.
And so we've got Carl on tomorrow, and we'll be talking about that new book and some of the more fascinating experiences that he's had in his life, some of the more fascinating things that have gone on with these remarkable magicians. So it's coming up tomorrow on the show.
I like it. Something different.
Yeah, something different. I said, things may get a little different, a little weird, a little, yeah. And in October, we're bringing it.
Very cool.
In October. So there you go. So that's coming up tomorrow on the big show. So, yeah, Meetings with Remarkable Magicians, Life in the Occult Underground is the name of the book, the full name of the book, with Carl. So, how's that?
I like it.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting show tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not for the faint of heart tomorrow. We'll just put it that way. Not for the faint of heart.
Gotcha.
I think that's about it. I think that's all I've got for today. That's it. We'll see you tomorrow for Carl Abramson. If you have a guest that you'd like to hear here on the show, drop me a line. tim@darknessradio.com. If you like what you're hearing on the show, drop us a kind review wherever you listen to this podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you hear it, iHeartRadio, wherever you hear it. If you need a place to listen to this show or subscribe, go to darknessradioshow.com. There's a bunch of different widgets where you can grab a place to subscribe to the show. So there you go. We'll see you tomorrow for Carl Abramson, Meetings with Remarkable Magicians, right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio.